fancy, play along at home with us as we wrap up this Thursday, which is going to be kind of a longer Thursday, Maya, it seems like, as we sprint towards signing day on May 14th, the last day of session. Especially if you caught up with the gavel today and saw what happened yesterday in the Senate. Maya, we'll talk about that in a moment. But just look at the budget debate that continues now into Thursday, a longer Thursday is planned as we're hearing. But Maya, when we're talking about what was in the gavel at SCETV.org/the gavel, let's talk about the Senate before we get to the House and what happened with THC, and just tell us where we stand right now with this budget debate.
Right. So we have 42 amendments that are still on the desk. Senate Finance Chair Harvey Peeler cut off amendments after 5:15 yesterday. And instead of running late on the second day, which we sort of always expect both chambers to do, Senator Peeler wanted to go home around 8, and that's what they did. We actually caught up with him a little bit today. We were in the elevator together. That's what happens when one elevator is down. You get stuck on an elevator with reporters. And he kind of said in so many words, it'll be a long day.
We were trying to pin him on 5 o'clock, and he didn't really say anything either way.
Yeah, didn't buy into it.
Not showing his cards.
Right. And so, as we expect, because we've seen this now on the floor the past couple of days, we expect a variety of amendments to pop up. Those could last. Many are going to be withdrawn, right? Many might be ruled out of order or might be dilatory, so, multiplied of something that already was filed. But we have seen in the past, even yesterday, that every amendment is getting about an hour's worth, in some cases, debate. Yesterday, there were a series of amendments that were added to the budget that included making sure that public dollars, tuition, could not go toward those NIL contracts between colleges and universities and student athletes. That obviously was part of the discussions over the bill that is now law.
Yeah.
The Senate also added its homestead exemption property tax expansion bill to the budget. Now, the Senate pays for it, but the House has been rather unwilling to even touch that bill, and so this is clearly
one of the big friction points.
Right, this is an opportunity for the Senate to at least say, hey, we want this, and let's negotiate over it, right? They also added, and this took about a couple of hours, a measure dealing with the liquor liability insurance premiums that bars and restaurants have had to do, and basically Senator Massey was saying, look, this was part of the new law, it's not working. It's not working. Bars and restaurants don't like it. So it includes a suspension of part of that law. That'll be an interesting debate once it reaches the negotiation phase. One measure that was not added, Senator Russell Ott, a Democrat from Calhoun, wanted to put back free breakfast for public school students. That was something that was included in Governor McMaster's executive budget. It was included in the House version of the spending proposal. The Senate took it out. And that amendment from Russell Ott failed 22-20.
Wow.
So
one of those close votes we've been seeing this week.
Right. So again, this will be part of the negotiation once it reaches conference.
And Maya, there's discussion. Did you mention about the abortion debate? There's a little bit of back and forth over that too when it came to this. And again, kind of what we've seen before in the House, more so now happening in the Senate. It seems like when it comes to people trying to get some policies and some of their bills that are not moving to get into the budget itself.
Right, that always happens. I mean, we're in the final few weeks of session. Next week, though, there will be 3 weeks left. And so there are a lot of very contentious, high-profile bills, like even data centers, that are probably not going to become law this year. And that includes that restrictive anti-abortion ban bill that Senator Richard Cash has been pushing for. Senator Lee Bright, another vocal anti-abortion senator, tried to add a measure to the budget dealing with data and PIVA and what's being reported. Now, that measure, he even admitted that he was going to withdraw, was not going to get attached to the budget, but he and other senators who have been very vocally opposed to this current 6-week ban that the state has basically wanted to use that as an opportunity to debate abortion, and that is what they did for roughly over an hour.
Yeah, so those are the things that happened during these debates for sure. And I guess jumping over to the House, we did see that THC debate pick up too. That was the big focus yesterday. A lot of back and forth. A lot of amendments were proposed, pulled down, voted against. We did see a couple measures stick to that measure, H3924, which again, at the heart of it, the original bill itself that passed the House last year was just to make sure that folks under 21 could not buy or consume those hemp-derived THC consumables, like those drinks, like those gummies that you see in stores across the state, because right now they're not regulated.
Right.
And that was a bare minimum bill to regulate these things. We saw another debate in the House earlier in February for a bill to regulate those more. That imploded. So this has been a very intense process, and that continued yesterday especially when that bill came back over from the Senate. That Senate bill, like we said, was passed by the House originally, basic bill. Senate loaded it up to try and get some more regulatory framework in there too in order to get these drinks and these gummies more regulated, or like alcohol. So we're seeing those 5 milligram, 12-ounce drinks would be in beer and wine stores and grocery stores, wherever they're sold right now, but they'd be behind the counter. The 10 milligram drinks would be in liquor stores only, and they'd also be behind the counter. Those gummies would only a certain amount of percentage milligrams in them as well, and packages of up to 40 milligrams. So that was a big, and there's also provisions in there when it comes to DUI, driving under the influence of these gummies, and more things in that bill as well. It's just really time to regulate what's going on right now because there's nothing happening in that space. And there are concerns, and we did see law enforcement actually kind of come out and support this. We were talking about that yesterday, the changes to this bill, even though there's been a lot of pushback from them in the first place. So that was the setup for what was going on in the House yesterday, and then the amendments came up, and we did see some changes, including the adoption of an outright ban, essentially, on this bill. So that right now, we're in a point of contention, Mayan. What happens when that bill comes back? Either you concur with what the Senate did, and then you
with
kind
the
of,
House, yeah,
with what was done, and then, or you not concur. The House votes not to concur. Neither of those happened. They amended those instead, and now this is going to go to a conference committee essentially because what they did over in the House was amended to basically ban this, as well as restore what it was in the original bill when it came to those 21 restrictions and under, as well as, and the Senate could also insist on what they passed too. So there's about 3 different options going on right now when it comes to THC, hemp-derived consumables. And we're going to see conferees be appointed to this apparently because I think the Senate's going to insist on what their version of the bill was, basically what you heard from Michael Johnson, Senator who's in charge of this in the Senate.
Right, yeah. So Senator Michael Johnson, who was shepherding the THC bill through the Senate, told reporters yesterday that the Senate is not going to go for what the House passed. They're going to send it to conference. They hope to meet as soon as possible.
Yeah.
But we were asking him what is really the non-negotiable, and he said that if the bill as it stands, if the House is unwilling to do anything beyond the 21 and up part of, ban it below 21, age 21, it's not going to sail through the Senate. He said an outright ban too, that is going to be tough. They want some of those regulations that they pass in the bill. And so I asked him point blank, is essentially the strategy to, in conference, agree to some regulations and basically force the House to go back to our House conferees to go back to the House and say, look, everyone, this is the best we could do. And he said, yeah, basically.
And that's, I mean, we were hearing that from House leadership too, with House Judiciary Committee Chairman Weston Newton, who's been heavily involved in this process, saying, we didn't law make yesterday. We weren't making laws yesterday. We were just trying to get the best leverage available for what happens in conference. Because when you're in a conference committee, you can only use what's the language in that bill as it is. You can't just completely amend the bill as it is. So they're trying to get as much in there to work with each other to try and see what the best option is going to be. It sounds like that regulatory bill is going to be the best bet because there's a lot of folks that want more than just the 21. An outright ban can be very difficult. There's a lot of concerns about how this would affect the hemp industry. And we heard from Greg Ford, the Dorchester Republican, who's been really pushing this bill, really to get something tangible in place, but also doesn't want to destroy what this industry is right now in the state.
Look, I think the reality is that House leadership wanted to concur with what the Senate did. And it was clear within the House GOP caucus that there was just not going to be a consensus to do that. And so, yes, while they're saying now that this is an opportunity for us to go to conference, I think the initial hope was that they wouldn't even have to go to conference.
It went off the rails, and then it was like, okay, well, we got to save it somehow.
Right, exactly. And that's what we saw, right, in the very last few minutes, that Weston Newton and other lawmakers were able to add that amendment, putting the 21, the core of the original bill, back in. But right, I mean, that's going to be a really interesting debate because while we talked about how it imploded in the House, it took a while to get through the Senate. And even if they are able to, peel some of the regulations out, there's not going to be a whole lot of folks that are happy with the legislation as it stands too. The other part of the bill also bans the on-premise consumption, and that's a huge issue for a lot of breweries or restaurants, right? And so we asked Senator Johnson whether that could be kept in, and he didn't say definitively no or yes, but I think that's going to be another point of contention.
Really summing up this entire bill's process, everything related to THC and hemp-derived THC drinks and consumables, it's been a mess. It's been very, you really are seeing the sausage being made, as we said in the gavel, and no one seems to be entirely happy. Of course, that's also the lawmaking process, but this one especially just seems like it's been a lot of give and take. There's been a lot of miscommunication, especially when it comes to CBD, which again remains protected in this bill, especially CBD THC combinations, which help folks with seizures and other ailments be treated with what's already out there too. So, and of course, we're still waiting to see what the federal government does because in that continuing resolution passed last November, they basically outlawed all this as well. And it's a huge multi-billion-dollar industry that would be drastically affected if that was actually held in place in the federal level. We know that President Trump wants to see some changes to what was in that CR. So there's still a lot up in the air right now, and a lot up in the air here in the State House when it comes to THC and hemp-derived consumables. So
Right.
another conference committee that we'll be watching, no doubt.
Another conference committee, absolutely.
Gotcha. What else is going on?
Well, I mean, I think, look, we're wrapping up, as we said, we're wrapping up week 15. We're going into week 16. That leaves 3 more weeks.
9 legislative
Nine
days.
legislative days, give or take, because kind of that third day or the last Thursday is a little bit all over the place.
That last week, I mean, it's not.
Right, and we talked about this week. We expected a roads debate. That'll happen next week now, is what House leadership is telling us. Over in the Senate, we're going to see potentially more controversial bills. One in particular, raising pay for lawmakers, something Senator Shane Martin has been beating the drum about. Actually, he also did add an in-district pay increase again to the state budget, whether that stays or not. So again, we'll see what happens on the floor with the actual pay raise. So every day is new. That's why following the gavel, I think, is so important.
Which I mean, especially when you're talking about pay raises for lawmakers, always kind of a unpopular thing outside of the State House. Of course, it's been something here that's been stuck. I think since the 90s, it's like the pay really hasn't moved too much for folks. But you're hearing about folks on the campaign trail, specifically Congressman Ralph Norman, who's one of the Republican gubernatorial candidates, beating up on lawmakers. And I don't really think that people are going to be too keen to, take the heat, especially in the House where they're up for a re-election this year too, when it comes to increasing pay. So we'll see how that plays out. I mean, there's a lot going on. I think that's about it. We're going to jump over to the House right now. Well, we're gonna make it through this Thursday. I think Mayon's gonna have a long one, but we'll see what's going on. And again, the House will be working through their 33-page calendar, and then next week we'll see that roads debate pick up, and then we'll have 9 legislative working days left in this session. Right. So it's going to be pretty crazy to see how things shake out. But we thank you for joining us. You can always watch us on youtube.com/@SETV News. You can always tune in to ETV World. We're streaming across the state. And of course, on Friday night at 7:30, we have This Week in South Carolina, where we kick off our gubernatorial profile series with Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evette and Congressman Ralph Norman. We'll be rolling those out over the coming weeks as we also sprint toward the June 9th primary for those statewide elected offices, and of course the House members that are for re-election too, among others on the ballot. So we'll be covering that. You're going to find all that again on our YouTube page and at the Gavel at scetv.org/thegavel. We're going to send you over to the House. Have a great Thursday. I'm Gavin Jackson with Mayon Schechter.
And some of the kids, if you'll wave for us as I say your name: Morgan Kovar, Aubrey Garino, Emma Labbit, Taylor Rivers, Olivia Shepard, Madeline Skeen, Shelby Smith, and Kylie Vaughn. Oh yeah, and Zuri Wooten. Hey baby. As I will say that she gets all her moves from her daddy. So let me tell you this. This year, this varsity team brought home a couple of second places in its very infancy of being a dance team. We had 4 soloists that finished in the top 10, and it is a great pleasure today to tell you that standing with Mr. Caskey and Coach Snowdop is our state champion soloist, Miss Taylor Rivers, state champion. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome my other part of my world, the River Bluff High School dance team.
River Bluff High School dance team, state champions, congratulations. Hope you enjoy your visit. And I know you did not get your dance moves from your daddy. All right. Miss Erickson is recognized for a special introduction. Miss Erickson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, it's our favorite day. Today is Teacher of the Year Day at the State House. So take a minute, everybody. Yeah. Take a minute, everybody, and check out the gallery because it's packed. Will you please stand and so we can see you while I will read a little bit about what you have done to be here today. Each District Teacher of the Year undergoes a rigorous screening and assessment process in order to be selected as the top teacher in that district. They represent all teachers all across South Carolina, and these teachers act as role models and mentors for their colleagues and their districts. District Teachers of the Year have hundreds of years of combined teaching experience and possess a proven ability to make a positive difference for students, schools, and communities. South Carolina is fortunate to have such dedicated and caring teachers educating and molding South Carolina's youth of all ages. It's appropriate for the members of the South Carolina General Assembly to pause in their work today to honor these teachers, say thank you, and acknowledge that they amplify what their students do in their classroom and give them opportunities to live a complete and successful life and provide a future for leaders in their communities all across our state. You are beacons of light for all of us, and we appreciate everything you do. Congratulations on this huge honor, and thank you for representing your schools, your communities, and the children you serve.
South Carolina Teachers of the Year, thank you for what you do. Congratulations. We appreciate you.
Mr. Speaker, Coach Hayes is up in the gallery with the teachers and has a resolution that will go to the department recognizing all of you who are here today. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Ms. Erickson.
Senate will stand at ease momentarily.
Senate will please come to order. Senate will please come to order. We're now on page 1, House Bill 5126, the General Appropriations Bill. Amendments are on the desk. Senator from Oconee, for what purpose do you rise?
To make a unanimous consent request.
State your request.
To help me with the order of the day, I have an amendment on the desk, and I would just ask unanimous consent that we go to Amendment 71 before we get into the other amendments.
Is there any objection to going to by unanimous consent to amendment number 71? Hearing no objections, the clerk will read. We're now on Amendment 71. Senator from Calhoun, what purpose do you rise?
Mr. President, I was wondering if we could just do a quick introduction prior to getting rolling on that.
Senator from Calhoun, you're recognized for an introduction.
Thank you, Mr.
You gonna do it? Oh.
Got it.
Senator from Calhoun.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, I certainly appreciate you indulging me to congratulate some very special young people that are up in the balcony today. We have the Pine View, I call them the Pine View Bombers, because it seems like every time I hear about them, they're winning another championship. And that's exactly what we had today. So from Lexington County, we've got the Pine View, both 6U and 8U. Y'all go ahead and stand up, y'all. And they went on, and they had another fantastic season. This is not the first time that a lot of them have been here. They've won championships in the past, and this year they have gone on and they won the World Series in their divisions. So just very excited, very proud of them, as I am of all of the parents that are in the balcony, continuing to coaches as well that are pouring in to these young men and look forward to the great things that they are going to do in the future. Y'all please welcome them to the Senate.
Please stand to be recognized. Welcome to the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thanks, Bill.
Senator from Oconee, you're recognized. Let's let the clerk publish amendment number 71, please.
The amendment's on page 585 of the bill. It's amendment number 71 by Senator Alexander and others. Amends the bill in section 117, adds a new proviso.
Senator from Oconee.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate, and appreciate y'all allowing me to go ahead and present this amendment. You know, over the last several years, we've had significant requests by various state agencies, but specifically on this complex, budget requests for dollars for renovations and upgrades here on the complex by different offices that are here. This amendment that is before you now is about the safety of the employees and the public access to the buildings that we have here on the complex. And this would allow the Department of Administration to work with the Retirement System Commission for the state and is consistent with what we've done as far as moving the Department of Natural Resources off of the complex and some other offices. So this would allow the Department of Administration and the retirement system to construct 2 buildings and parking off of the complex, but close by, very close by, for the safety of the employees and for the public to have better access to those offices. I would emphasize that these are non-legislative offices. It allows the State Investment Commission system to lease to state agencies. That's consistent. They lease to state agencies now, and they would have the state be tenants in these real estate holdings. So I would move for adoption of the amendment.
All in favor of adoption of the amendment? All in favor of adoption of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the ayes have it.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Clerk will publish the next amendment.
Next amendment is on page 312 of the bill. Amendment number 15 by Senator Graham, previously carried over. Amends the bill in Part 1B, Department of Education, by amending a proviso.
Senator from Kershaw, for what purpose do you rise?
Unanimous consent
State your request.
to withdraw amendment number 15.
Any objection to withdrawing amendment number 50? Hearing none.
15.
15, excuse me. Hearing none, amendment 15 is now withdrawn.
Thank you.
Oh. Senator from Colleton, for what purpose do you rise?
Unanimous consent request
Please state your request.
that under Amendment 44, which was previously adopted by this body, that 2 words be stricken from it, the words real and that the amendment be adopted again by this body.
So the unanimous consent is to delete the 2 words that were adopted in the amendment yesterday.
Which
And
would
let
make,
staff-
that was the amendment in reference to delinquent tax.
That's right. That's right. Hearing no objection, those will be deleted. Thank you, Senator from Colleton. Clerk will publish the next amendment.
Next amendment is on page 312 of the bill. It's amendment number 18 by Senators Sabb and Stubbs, previously carried over. Amends the bill in Part 1B, Department of Education, by adding a proviso.
Senator from Williamsburg, for what purpose do you rise?
Mr. President, unanimous consent request.
State your request.
Unanimous consent to withdraw amendment number 18 and go to amendment number 38.
Unanimous consent request is heard. Is there any objection? Hearing no objection, that amendment will be withdrawn, and we'll go to the next amendment that he mentioned. Clerk will publish the amendment.
Next amendment is on page 312, amendment number 38 by Senators Sabb, Stubbs, and Zell. Amends the bill in Part 1B, Department of Education, adds a new proviso.
Senator from Williamsburg, for what purpose do you rise?
Speak to the amendment.
You're recognized, sir. Senator from Williamsburg.
Before you on amendment number 38, this amendment has been improved in two ways. I think I indicated when I came up the first time that the amendment was an S&S amendment. The amendment now is an SS&Z amendment. Senator Zell has joined as one of the co-sponsors. Members, you will recall that this is the proviso that dealt with the with what I call the mobile panic system, and so I want to express my appreciation, number one, for the questions that that were asked, and as a result of the questioning, Mr. President, we've changed one thing. So the initial amendment under subsection C provided that the department would provide annual training to the public resource officers as well as the public school personnel. And so one of the problems was if we were to create any kind of recurring expenses from the department, we would not qualify for the safety fund. And so I appreciate the senator from Edgefield raising the point, and I appreciate the senator from Dorchester expounding on it. And so I think we're now in a good space.
Senator from Anderson, what purpose do you rise?
Senator, the senator will yield for a question.
Sure. Well.
The senator yields.
Senator, I respect the fact you've worked on your proviso, and perhaps I should have mentioned this to you earlier, but would you consider in the last sentence of this proviso taking out one word, the word not, so that it would read, this proviso does apply to any district or school that has already implemented a mobile panic alert system, so that they too, all the districts would have this paid for by the state, not just those who have not done so yet.
Senator, we engaged in this discussion, I thought, before, and certainly I respect and appreciate your position regarding the proviso, but from the reimbursement standpoint, which is what I think you're getting at, where schools that have invested in a system would be reimbursed. Senator, candidly, I respectfully hope that that would be a different kind of a discussion that would be dealt in a different proviso, along with the other issues that you and other senators from Spartanburg have raised with regard to resource officers and the ones that are paid by the state versus the ones that are paid by the school districts. You know, that whole have and have not discussion, which I appreciate it. But I'd hope that we wouldn't get tied up here in that discussion. And quite frankly, and I think I've made my point clear along with some others, Senator from Fairfield, I think also talked about the importance of where we find ourselves, and honestly, I'm so concerned about the districts that don't have. I'm so concerned about the children, the teachers, and other district personnel that will not have the benefit of this technology that, in my mind, the evidence clearly shows and makes a compelling case that should we have an active shooter, this will save lives. Should there be medical emergencies that come up, this is going to allow persons to be able to get to those folks quicker and sooner, and hopefully be a part of a better outcome. And so, candidly, I'm just laser focused on making certain that the technology is where it is. And so what I don't know, Senator, did you know, is where the pulse is as it relates to what you're attempting to do. And if I knew, my thought process may be a little different. But right now, I'm just laser focused on those who have not.
I appreciate your response, Senator. But this is a long-standing problem. This is just perpetuating the same paradigm that's been going on for quite some time. And in regard to the other issues raised by the senator from Spartanburg, in combination with this, as much as I think it's has merit, I'm just not willing to go down that path again. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator from Chester, what purpose do you rise, sir?
Senator will yield for a few questions.
Senator, yield for questions.
Yes, sir.
Senator, yield for questions.
Thank you, sir. And Senator, you might remember me taking the well and speaking on this particular topic yesterday.
I do, Senator.
And do you remember I spoke as to SLED going through the proper procurement process?
Yes, sir.
Do you realize that I had confused that with actually the mapping of the higher education buildings across the state? Were you aware of that?
I wasn't aware of that, but I can appreciate your clarification on the matter.
Yes, sir. And you know, so I wanted to clarify that because I did misspeak from the well, and that's not something.
Senator, you know that happens from time to time, and I think it's our responsibility to try to clear it up when it occurs.
Sir. But that does not negate the fact that all these school districts will have to go through the proper procurement process for a system like this, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Senator from Spartanburg, Senator Bright, what purpose do you rise?
A friendly question? Just kidding.
You may not take it friendly, but Senator, I've had some discussions with the Department of Education, and my understanding is the school districts are still going to have to cover the subscription cost. I understand that there's a safety fund that might cover the installation and the product themselves, but there are no funds to cover the annual subscription cost. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So we are putting an unfunded liability on our school districts.
We're protecting our kids. I mean, so look, let's be clear. That might be your position, and I think that there's some merit that's associated with it. But Senator, when it comes to saving lives, I mean, I don't think that we have a more important obligation. And if you've paid attention, and I know you have because I've seen how hard you work, you know what this technology will do. I mean, there is no if, and, or buts in your mind that should we have one of those situations, the actions of this assembly will save lives. And I don't believe that we've got a greater responsibility as legislators than to do that.
Well, Senator, I've got two more questions. One, if the districts don't fund it and we don't fund it, what do we do to the districts for not funding it?
Look, I have faith. Believe it or not, I have faith that South Carolinians will look at an issue like this and be like me, that they don't believe that there's another matter that's any more important when it comes to our kids. Our kids don't go to school because they want to. We require them to. And I think that we've got an obligation, if we're going to send them there, to make sure that they're safe. And to the extent that there's technology that's come out that can avert some of these tragedies that we've experienced as a nation, then I think we're duty bound to do what we can, and not just from the state perspective, I think local government has a responsibility as well. And I think their responsibility is akin to ours, that we have got to do everything we can to make sure that our children are safe. Senator, I know you're with me on that.
Senator, I absolutely agree we need to keep our children safe, but I also know we have superintendents, we have school districts, we have school boards, and we've entrusted them with the lives of our children. And here we are as a Senate that can't even repair roads, but we're going to fix the safety problems in the schools. And I'm just telling you, if there's no enforcement provision, and you talk about the have-nots in the state that can't afford this, now you're saying that we hope after we spend all this money, and I don't want to take you back to Scout, but we have spent money and not had a return thinking we were going to get one. We spend this money, and some of these school districts can't afford it. There's no enforcement mechanism in this proviso. They don't pay for it. We got a bunch of panic buttons sitting in schools that aren't being used, and you hope we're going to fund them. I'm saying maybe we don't. Senator, have you thought about that process?
I have, and quite frankly, you and I have a fundamental difference in terms of what's happening in our state as far as our roads are concerned. I was a junior senator in this body when Senator Leatherman asked me to be a part of a working group. And I could not have been more proud of the Senator from Edgefield and Senator from Berkeley and Senator from Richland, John Scott, Senator from Kershaw, Vincent Shaheen, and the rest of us that literally worked day and night to try to figure out a way to come up with a system that would fix our roads. And there were those of us who were absolutely satisfied that the way to do it was to create a stream of revenue that the department and the Secretary of Transportation could depend on year after year after year to make sure that our roads and that our bridges were funded. And quite frankly, the mission, if you will, that we've been on is working. It is absolutely working. It might not be working to the satisfaction of everyone, because when you refuse to invest in roads and bridges for 50 and 60 years, you can't cure that in 5 or 10. And so when you look at the system that is in place, we're actually ahead of the 10-year plan that was initially created in terms of where we would be with repairing our bridges and repairing our roads. And so I would disagree with those who would say that we are ignoring our responsibility as it relates to those. We've got a system in place, and it's working.
Senator, I would disagree. We have counties all over the state raising their own taxes because we can't fix the roads. But, Senator, I think, and I don't want to hold up this budget all day, I don't think we're going to agree on this issue no matter how long we talk. So I'm going to ask for a roll call vote, but I just don't think we can put an unfunded liability to buy a bunch of panic buttons that we're not sure that the subscriptions will even be paid for.
Senator.
Thanks, Senator.
Senator from Dorchester, what purpose do you rise?
Wondered Senator would yield for just a quick question or two.
Senator, yield from questions.
Yes.
Senator, yield for questions.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator, I don't think there's a whole lot of disagreement in here about the validity of the programs. And that's not what I want to talk about. I just want to make sure that I understand this and that everybody understands. You are not allocating funds for this cost. You are telling the Department of Education that they have to find the funds in the funds that they already have or will be appropriated. Is that correct?
So what I've said is, please find the funds and fund it. Senator, I had the opportunity to speak with the Department of Ed, and for the edification of this body, there was a conversation relating to whether or not we should direct that the funds come out of the safety fund. And based upon some of the counsel that I received in this body, we didn't think it was a good idea for us to be the ones to say where the funds ought to come from. But clearly that's one source that the department could consider. The money is clearly there, but there are other funds as well that they could tap for this purpose. But we are not allocating any funds out of this budget for that specific purpose. That's correct, Senator.
Not a direct appropriation. Find the funds within the department or direct the districts to apply to the safety fund.
That's correct, Senator.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator from York, Senator Johnson, what purpose do you ask?
Will the senator yield for a question?
Senator yields for questions.
Yes.
Senator, you may recall, you and I, we served on the subcommittee that studied this bill together.
Yes, sir.
And Senator, do you remember that we were worried about the funding in the subcommittee? And one of the things we did was we actually delayed the enactment. We said that school districts didn't have to do this, and we pushed it all the way out to July of 2028 because we knew there was absolutely no funding for this. There was no money behind this, and that we would spend the next year and a half trying to find that money. Senator,
do you
your
know
proviso doesn't do that, though, does it? Your proviso hopes we'll just find the money now.
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. You have a proviso, and Senator, then there's work that's associated with the proviso. And so I didn't just write words on paper and not engage folks in terms of how we can achieve the goal that this promotes. And so you're right. In that moment and in that space, I had no idea how it would occur. But Senator, do you know I'm absolutely satisfied that the money is in place to get this done. And look, here's what I don't want to happen. I don't want us to create a scenario, now that I'm aware that we've got an incredible, significant opportunity, I don't want us to create a scenario where we delay it, and God forbid, something happens in the interim. And so in my mind, I think that when we don't know, then the question is whether or not we can find out. And so, Senator, do you know that when I worked with you, and look, you and I were on one accord about the importance of doing this. And at the time, I was satisfied, and I think you were as well, that we weren't sure about where the funding would come from and whether or not it could take place. But I tell you as a member of this body that I've had a conversation with the department. And as I've indicated to this body, there was a suggestion that we ought to direct it to come from one fund because it's available. And again, based on good counsel, the decision was that we ought not do that, but make a circumstance where those funds could in fact be tapped. And so that's why the Senator from Edgefield's question was so significant, and the information that Senator from Dorchester received from staff about making sure that we had the language right to qualify to be able to access the funds. So I agree with you, Senator, but further information came to light.
And Senator, did you know that I fully support this idea? I think this ought to be implemented.
I'm satisfied that I am
100%.
better off because you're with me.
And I'm 100%. My concern is that this is an unfunded mandate that's going to be passed down to school districts because we don't have a dedicated source of funding. And if I read this and it said we have this, or if I heard this is in the budget, we have allocated whatever the cost is, I would be with you. But I'm all for protecting our schools and making sure our schools have it. But to tell a school district, you shall implement this, you're going to do this, and then potentially not give them the revenue to do so, that just asks that school district to be between a rock and a hard place. What are they going to do? Are they going to implement this $10 million worth, or $1 million, whatever the number is? Or are they going to hire a teacher? Are they going to hire a special ed teacher? Are they going to hire a resource officer? So, Senator, that is my concern, and I appreciate this proviso, but I have grave concerns that it is unfunded. This is needed, and we should fund this. I want to be clear. We should fund this. Did you know? But Senator, as being unfunded, I just have a very difficult time with it.
Senator, do you know I'd be surprised if your school district didn't have a program like this already?
We actually don't have this in the Fort Mill School District, Senator.
I'm surprised, but here's what I believe. I believe you all will get it. I don't believe that one of the richest school districts in our state is going to allow this kind of technology to be available and put their children at risk. I don't believe any of those persons who are decision makers there, after learning more about a system like this, is going to sit idle and allow nothing to take place. I just simply don't believe that. I mean, I looked at the information about the average cost of housing in your district. It's absolutely unbelievable. And I just don't believe that those good-thinking folks are going to allow technology like this to just pass them by. And so I think, and I appreciate what you've said, I think we will have an opportunity next year to examine where we are and see whether or not there aren't things that we can do to help. I fully embrace that notion, but I don't believe that we ought to delay what we're able to do because of that. And so, Senator, while I definitely agree with you that this is absolutely needed and that perhaps there are opportunities for us as a General Assembly to appropriate funds, I think that's cool. But think about it. If they get the system in, when will the prescriptions be due? After we've had an opportunity to meet again. And so to the extent that that's something that we want to do, we'll get a chance to do it. We will absolutely get a chance to do it. But y'all, we ought not delay this.
Senator from Horry, Senator Hembry, what purpose do you rise?
Mr. President, as reluctant as I am to make this request, with the Senator from Williamsburg holding the floor, I would like to make a very important introduction.
Is there objection? Unanimous consent with the Senator from Williamsburg holding the floor. Purposes of introduction here, no objection. So ordered.
Senators from Aiken, Berkeley, Florence, and Greenwood to join me at the podium if they would like.
Senator so informed. Senator from Horry, Senator Hembry, joined by various members of our state Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President, and this truly is one of my favorite introductions of the year. As the Chairman of Education, I get the privilege of handling these responsibilities. And what it is the District Teachers of the Year are here in the chamber with us today. Later today, the South Carolina Teacher of the Year Gala will be held at the Governor's Mansion there in the Garden. It's a lovely event. I was planning to go. It doesn't look like I'll be joining y'all. I thought we would be done, but that's what I'm frequently wrong. But the teachers from around the state are with us today. They'll be joining the governor at the mansion. But today, and in this process, and I'll tell you a little bit about it in a minute, we have the 5 finalists for Teacher of the Year. So they're with us today. I'm going to introduce you, and I'd like you to stand when I mention your name. Christy Palladino. Christy is an Aiken County Public School District teacher, biomedical science at the Aiken County Career and Technology Center. Welcome. Alex Wharton. Alex is with the Berkeley County School District, and she is a special education resource teacher at Berkeley High School. Third is Megan Johnson. And she is with Florence School District 1, exceptional education teacher at Royal Elementary School. Fourth, Nashari Williams. Nashari is with Greenwood School District 50, second grade teacher at Hodges Elementary School. And finally, Caitlin Rhodes. And Caitlin, and this is sort of a special, I think, to the South Carolina Senate. Many of us were here when this school was created. Is with the South Carolina Governor's School for Agriculture. She is a horticulture teacher in the School for Agriculture, so welcome. Let me just tell you briefly about the process. Some of you will know about this. The South Carolina Teacher of the Year celebration is the culmination of a month-long, three-part selection process that is overseen by the South Carolina Department of Education. First, a committee grades the applicants for District Teachers of the Year, and 25 teachers are selected by the committee. The next step, a second committee narrows that 25 applicants down to 5 applicants. Then the final selection committee is composed of 7 judges representing various stakeholders in education. These individuals conduct personal interviews with those teachers and examine a keynote video presentation. Not even the judges know the identity of the new Teacher of the Year until the envelope is opened at the Teacher of the Year Gala. I've had the pleasure of attending that in the past, and it's like going to the Oscars. It really is. You can feel the tension. It's really a lot of fun. At the event's conclusion, the new Teacher of the Year is named. The winner receives a total of $25,000 in cash prize and is provided a brand new BMW to use while serving as a roving ambassador, providing mentoring, attending speaking engagements, working with other teacher cadets and teaching fellows, and serving as the state spokesperson for over 64,000 educators. Is Corey Biedenbaugh here? He is not. He's not he'll be here later this afternoon. Corey Biedenbaugh is the current South Carolina Teacher of the Year, a teacher at Batesburg-Leesville Middle. And just sort of off to the side, I had the pleasure of serving on a panel with him last Friday night over at Coastal Carolina University. And I will tell you, it was I always learn so much more than I give at those events, and a great deal of that was from Mr. Biedenbaugh. So he is a true shining star amongst our outstanding 64,000 educators in South Carolina. So I would ask that all the educators please stand and be recognized.
Please stand and be recognized. Thank you so much for your service to our students across the great state of South Carolina. Thank you all. Sure. Welcome to the South Carolina Senate. We're honored to have you with us today. Senator from Spartanburg, Senator Bright.
Alicia Fulmer, if you're, could you wave? The senator from Horry made the comment that I told him I had a friend that his wife was a Teacher of the Year, Matt Fulmer. We've been friends since we were kids. And first he disputed that I had a friend, and then he disputed that I had a friend that would be married to a Teacher of the Year. So I just wanted the whole Senate to be aware that that is the case. Thank you.
Every day.
Welcome. Welcome all of you here today. Thank you so much. Thank you, Senator from Horry. Senator from Williamsburg retains the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. And, it's just so interesting that we would have these extraordinary educators here as we're having this discussion. This is where the rubber meets the road. Thank you all for all you do. And please know that we're going to do everything we can down here to be of assistance to you all in what you're trying to do.
Senator from Charleston, Senator Lieber, what purpose do you raise?
Senator, we yield for questions.
Senator, yield for questions.
Yes.
Senator yields for questions.
I did.
Thank you, Senator. And I do agree this is an important element to governing is the protection of our children. However, I have some questions that are sort of fall along the lines of Senator from York previously. Do we know the cost of the subscription for these devices?
Senator, as I understand it, there'll be a procurement process that will be associated with it. But I have heard numbers like $8,000 per school.
Well, what I understand is that normally when you purchase a device, there's costs associated with the device. And I think maybe that $8,000 figure is for the purchase of the device, but then you have to buy the subscription at the same time.
No,
There's
sir, I don't think that's accurate, Senator. I think that relates to the prescription cost itself.
Okay, well, some of my research, I have seen that these, they are charged based on the amount of students that the district has. So we have 1,400 schools, including charter schools in the state, some 700,000 odd students. I've seen figures as much as $8 a student is being charged on the subscription.
I don't think that's accurate, Senator.
So you contend, or you believe, I'm sure you do, that this is a $8,000 per school, but if they charge on a per student basis, then
Why would they charge? I mean, but there's no logic to that, Senator. What would be the basis for charging per student?
Because
the students are not going to be the ones that are going to be having, it's not like a device per student.
No, but the device, you have to have a number of devices to handle the school population. If you have, let's say you have a very small school with just 50 kids in it, maybe you just need one device. You have a very large high school, and that brings up another question. Does your mandate, is it fulfilled if the principal just takes one panic button and that's all that is purchased by that school? Does that fulfill your mandate?
Look, you can call it a mandate if you want.
Well, that's what it is.
Well, look, you can call it a mandate. I mean, you can go political on this. There's no question.
I don't believe I'm being political.
Well, let me just tell you my view based upon your question and based upon your classification of what this is. So if you want to call a school safety bill a mandate, look, that's your prerogative by all means.
What I'd like to get to is the cost. That's what I'd like to get to. I'm not getting to any other figures. And I'm trying to highlight that maybe we don't know the cost. And that's why I'm asking you these specific questions regarding how many of these devices have to be purchased to fulfill the requirement. I'll use the word requirement. We're requiring schools to participate in this program. So how many of these panic buttons does a school have to purchase or be involved in to fulfill the requirement?
I'm not sure about that, Senator.
You're not sure. And we're not sure about the subscription cost. We
So
kind
what-
of think it's $8,000
So
to
what I-
participate, but if the schools are different sizes, how can we have a flat rate and not have an approximation maybe between $4,000 and $12,000, say?
So, Senator, you asked me a question, and I gave you the best information that I have. And the best information that I have is that there's a procurement process that will take place. And the number that I've been given is that it's approximately $8,000 per school. Now, that's the information that I have. To the extent that you have other information, then, you asked me the question, so I gave you the best information that I have.
There was a bill process that was ongoing, I understand.
Wasn't a what?
A bill? Was there a piece of legislation that was submitted?
Yes, sir, that's correct. And Senator, in fact, a lot of the language that's in the proviso came out of that bill. And
What's
so
the status of that bill?
Sir?
What is the status of that bill?
What is the status of it? It's on our calendar and it's objected to.
It's objected to. Okay. Well, I just, I applaud you for the desire to save our, be protective of our children. I too share that. I just have trouble mandating sub-political elements of government in the state, requiring them to participate in something and not exactly know what the cost is and where they're going to derive that
Senator,
funding from.
I wish we had the benefit in this body of knowing the cost of everything we do. Come on now, you and I have sat in this assembly all this session, and there have been a number of instances where we did not know to the penny exactly what something's going to cost. Senator, we didn't hesitate to vote on a number of those things, and here's my point. My point is I don't know that anything that we voted on is any more important than the matter that's before us right now. And so it is a wasted opportunity. And look, I've heard it said all the time that, I care about this. I care about that. Somebody told me a long time ago, son, put your money where? And so that, I think, is where we are in this moment. And so I appreciate sir.
I appreciate that, but you're also asking us to accept the premise that if we don't do this, that our kids are unsafe. That there's not being steps taken at the lower levels of government to participate in this program or to choose other programs that they think are more efficient to keep our children safe. So all of this matters. How much we spend matters. And not knowing what we spend and then mandating other governments to lower levels of government to participate and require them, but also not knowing exactly the amount that they've got to come up with, that matters. Humbly, that matters.
Senator, I can't ask you a question, but I just wonder whether or not there's been an instance where we passed a bill and not know exactly what the cost is.
Senator from Richland, Senator Jackson, what purpose do you rise, sir?
Mr. President, will the senator yield for a question?
Senator yield for question.
Yes,
Senator
sir.
yields for question.
Senator, first of all, did you know that I appreciate your effort on this? And did you know that I was a part of that subcommittee with the bill when it came up and we heard public testimony?
I do know that you were part of the bill, and the young lady whose child was lost in one of these tragedies was kind enough to come and share her story with us.
I think the young lady who lost a child in Florida. And Senator, wouldn't you agree that it was strong bipartisan support
Absolutely.
to do something? Senator, would you agree that I want to echo on what the senator from Dorchester said, Senator Bennett, who, by the way, chairs the K-12 subcommittee in finance. So he certainly knows about the budget of the State Department. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, sir.
Senator.
And Senator, do you know that he was actually one of the persons that I constantly consulted with?
So, Senator, for the edification of this body, wouldn't you agree, as the senator from Dorchester said, we've basically said to the Department of Education, and they have suggested to us to allow them the flexibility to find the money.
Yes, sir.
As opposed to dictating where it should come from.
Actually, Senator, it's kind of like the opposite. They suggested that we direct them,
right,
and we chose to leave it. Yes,
okay.
sir.
So, Senator, let me help point out a couple areas where we could perhaps find the money. Senator, are you aware that in this budget this year, we are appropriating $20 million for school safety?
I am aware of that.
Senator, are you aware that the South Carolina Department of Education has approximately $30 million carryover funds?
Senator, I was not aware that the department has approximately $30 million.
Close to
$30 million of
$20
carryover.
plus million, maybe close to $30 million carryover funds. Senator, you're aware of what carryover funds are, right?
I am aware of what carryover funds are, but I was not aware that the department has almost $30 million in carryover funds.
Senator, are you aware that the Department of Education's total budget is over $4 billion? Money that they receive from the state, federal government, and others. Somewhere around $4 billion.
Senator, do you not want to grow in this body to the point where I kind of know stuff that you and the senator from Dorchester and a bunch of y'all other ones know? But no, I was not I that the budget is $4 billion.
Are you aware the only reason I know is because somebody told me? Okay.
Well, I need to get to know those folks
right.
too.
I certainly don't want to take credit for that. But Senator, so are you aware that what the total cost of what you are proposing has somewhere been estimated to be around maybe $8 million?
So the number that I've been told is $11 million.
Yeah, around $11 million.
Yes, sir.
So let us once again go over what we talked about. Approximately $30 million carryover.
Yes, sir. $30
money
million.
That the Department of Education did not use in previous budgets. And so it is there to be used at their discretion for items that meets what this body has dictated as a priorities for them.
$30 million, yes, sir.
$30 million.
Yes, sir.
Senator, would you agree that there's probably nothing more important to parents than the public safety of their children?
Senator, I looked into the eyes of several of the teachers as they were exiting. And there were so many thumbs up and so many smiles associated with what we're trying to do here. And I know that some of those same teachers are not only teachers, but they're parents, and perhaps some of them might even be grandparents.
And Senator, would you agree that both of us are very familiar with educators? In fact, isn't it true that your sister is a renowned educator in the great county of Williamsburg County?
And at the great public school of C.E. Murray, and also, of course, my wife is a retired principal, and yeah.
And so when we say priorities, okay, Senator, are you aware that someone said to me a long time ago, if you want to determine someone's character, have them tell you their priorities. So if you want to judge, is it true perhaps that if you want to judge the character of this General Assembly, let us look at what our priorities are. And Senator, isn't it true that none of us will feel good going home knowing that there are some districts that will not have this critical safety mechanism simply because we did not give the State Department the opportunity to find the funds to fund this great public benefit for all South Carolinians?
Senator, I could not have said that any better. Candidly, as you talked, I almost had chills from within because going home knowing that we've done something like this, I don't know that there's a better feel.
And Senator, wouldn't you agree that there are a lot of issues that we've taken up this year? We spent time on hemp and other stuff, and on drunk drivers and all of those wonderful things that we have to do. But isn't it true that every year our great chair of finance and others says perhaps our number one goal is to make sure that we provide for the safety of the citizens of South Carolina and educate our children?
Absolutely.
And I'll leave you with this, Senator. Have you heard the expression that you can judge a state and substitute society for state by how they treat their elderly?
Yes.
Thanks to our great presidents up there, we do very well in taking care of our elderly.
Absolutely.
The other way you can judge a state is how do you treat the children?
The little ones.
Senator, I said it was the last, but I have one more. Okay.
Absolutely.
Are you aware that in one of the cultures in Africa, if you visit that culture, their greetings to everyone they meet is not, hello, how is your day? The greetings goes like this, how are the children? When they see you, they says, how are the children? Because perhaps they know that how you treat children determines who you are, and perhaps more importantly, what you will become as a society. So, Senator, thank you for your effort. I hope at the end of the day that we leave here demonstrating our character by prioritizing the safety of all children in South Carolina.
Thank you, Senator, and thank you for your questions.
Senator from Marion, what purpose do you rise?
With the senator from Williamsburg holding the floor, I'd like to make a quick introduction.
Is there objection to the unanimous consent request that the senator from Marion has made, with the senator from Williamsburg retaining the floor, that the senator from Marion be recognized for the purpose of introduction? Hearing no objection, so ordered. Senator from Marion, joined by the senator from Charleston.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President, members of the Senate. Today I rise to recognize the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources Dive Team, an elite group of law enforcement officers who serve our state with extraordinary skill, courage, and dedication. I would like to specifically recognize Director Tom Mullican. Would you please stand, sir? Major Matt McCaskill, Captain Thomas Buchanan, Captain Tony Spires, and Lieutenant Willis Bowers for their leadership and dedication. Also, we have the founding members of the dive team, Ben Underwood, Skeet Mills, Francis Mitchum, and the dive team medic, Mr. Greg Barefoot. Just want to share with you some of the core responsibilities of this dive team. Our underwater search and rescue, evidence recovery, support to law enforcement and emergency responders, and boating and safety prevention. In addition, the dive team plays a vital role in supporting law enforcement across our state by locating weapons, vehicles, and other critical evidence beneath our waterways. They also contribute to public safety and environmental protections through efforts such as the removal of abandoned and derelict vessels. The South Carolina DNR dive team reflects great credit upon our state. And I just want to say personally to this dive team and to all of our DNR officers who protect our waterways and our land and our natural resources, thank you for your service. I remember, and you all probably, I'm sure, remember this as well, back during Hurricane Florence in 2018 when we had the flood and we had two Horry County inmates, females that were being transported and got swept away in the swift water and were actually ended up perishing, drowning in that van, and had to call in the dive team to come in and extract them from that van. And I tell you, it takes a lot of courage, a lot of skill, and a lot of dedication when these men put their lives on the line. And we just want you to know how much we appreciate you. We thank you for your service. And please know that your hard work and dedication to the citizens of this great state does not go unnoticed. And also the President of the Senate, President Alexander, Director Mulliken, you know how he feels about you and this entire department. And with that being said, Mr. President, I will yield and allow other members to offer remarks if they. If not, Mr. President, I would ask that the reading clerk publish the title of the resolution.
The reading clerk will publish the title of the resolution.
This is a Senate resolution to recognize and honor the South Carolina Department of Natural Resources Law Enforcement Dive Team for its dedicated service, professionalism, and extraordinary contributions to the safety of the citizens of South Carolina.
That resolution has been unanimously adopted by the Senate. The Senator
Mr. President, we would could ask all of our DNR officers to please stand and be recognized.
Please stand,
Please
all of you. Thank you for your service to the citizens of South Carolina. We are so grateful to you. And thank you, Mr. Director. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Good to see you. Thank you, Senator from Richland. Senator Jackson is recognized for a brief introduction.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate, it is certainly my pleasure to introduce a dear friend, a great public servant, a powerful man of God from Richland County who's here today, Aaron Bishop. We asked if Commissioner Bishop would stand. He is former chair of Richland School District 1 Board of Commissioners, currently serves on District 1 Board of Commissioners. He's also a great pastor in our community of Grace Community Church, and we want to welcome Pastor Bishop, Commissioner Bishop, to the South Carolina Senate and thank him for his great work for our community, not just here in Richland County, but throughout the state of South Carolina. So, thank you.
Pastor, welcome today. We're honored to have you visiting with us here in the State Senate. God bless. Thank you, Senator from Richland, Senator Jackson. The senator from Williamsburg retains the floor on his amendment.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I thought that a one-word change would be quick, fast, and easy, but obviously that was not the case.
Senator from Richland, Senator Devine, what purpose do you raise?
See if the senator will yield for a couple questions.
Senator, yield for questions.
Yes, sir.
Senator, yields for questions.
Thank you, Senator from Williamsburg. I appreciate your effort on this. Senator, just a couple follow-up questions. I think the senator from Charleston asked you about a bill that this addresses, and I guess the assumption is that it shouldn't be a proviso. But Senator, do we pass other provisos that do the same thing that bills that are currently pending in committee or even on the floor do?
Sure.
And so this is just an opportunity for us to move this forward, knowing that we have some time to do some other things to expand on safety for children.
Absolutely, Senator. I mean, I think it's cliche-ish to say that children are our future, but it's absolutely true. And I can't think of any more meaningful legislation that we've dealt with this year targeted towards, education, safety. I can't think of anything any more important than this.
And Senator, do you recall that yesterday we passed a proviso for law enforcement retirement that is estimated to cost $100 million in the budget?
I recall that, yes.
And Senator, do you know that there were senators who came to me afterwards and said they had no idea that it was going to cost $100 million, but they voted for it anyway because it was about making sure that our law enforcement felt appreciated.
And Senator, that's been an important debate that we've continued to have in this chamber on, how do we fill all the vacancies that we have in our departments. I mean, I think when I look at Williamsburg County, for instance, and the fact that we have such a shortage of deputies, and apparently a part of our problem is that when the officers come to us, they need to be sent to the academy and all of those kinds of things. And so then when they're sent to the academy and when they become certified, because we can't pay what others are able to pay, then we end up losing some of our officers to other areas. And obviously the reason why we lose them to other areas is because they have vacancies too. And so our law enforcement is just one of those areas that we just simply need more officers. And I think that Senator from Berkeley's effort is to try to plug some of those holes. And if we could get other persons that are retired back into the workforce, then it would help to fill some of those vacancies. And quite frankly, it's another safety issue, right? I mean, it's another safety issue that's directed towards the citizenry. And that's exactly what this bill is. It is a school safety bill.
So the investment of that $100 million, an investment of $8 million into protecting our states, it is about where our priorities are. Would you agree?
I absolutely agree. I mean, what's a life worth? And the saving of a life, what's it worth? And I just think that you're right. It's a part of our priorities in terms of how we view our obligation relating to safety, and it's of paramount import.
And Senator, do you recall that we had a proviso that didn't pass that would prevent, or I guess have the stopgap for homeschoolers not to accept or be eligible for voucher money anymore?
Yeah.
And so there's money in the state that will go unintendedly to homeschoolers because we were told, or it was suggested that we shouldn't pull this money away from families who are already receiving it.
Yeah, all tough issues, and and as is the case, a body politic comes together and it speaks. And it's just my hope that when this body politic comes together and it speaks, we'll speak on behalf of our kids.
And so,
Keep them
Senator, I
safe.
guess my point is, do you agree that all of these are very important issues?
They are.
And we have to make decisions thoughtfully, but when we make decisions, the safety and security of our citizens, but of course primarily our children who their families send them to school, when we see what happens around this country, is any investment too big to make sure that our children and our teachers are safe? Because we know that sometimes our schools are targeted by people who don't mean them
Yeah, and
well.
that part of what happens in our society, I will never understand. I will never understand how an individual gets up in the morning, arms himself or herself, and has fixed in their mind that they are going to go into a school and do as much damage, as much harm, and kill as many as they can with whatever period they can. I will never understand how anybody could have that kind of evilness within them. But we are seeing it month after month after month in the United States and other countries. I mean, it's like almost a fad. And I mean, it's a cancer in our society that we've got to figure out how to stop, but in the interim, we've got to figure out how to protect against. And quite frankly, when this matter came before this committee, I mean, I've had some illuminating experiences since I've been in the Senate. I mean, some things that I've come into contact with, and I'm like, oh, wow, you know, this is so wonderful. This is so great. But when I learned about this system, and when Senator from Greenville started reading off the times, and he, because I'll be candid, when I got that sheet, I couldn't read it. I didn't know exactly what the numbers and the columns meant. And when you broke it down and talked about how 4,810 seconds here and 32 seconds there, I mean, once you said it, then it hit home. And so, to me, that was an eye-opening, incredibly important learning experience. And once I was introduced to it, it's one of these things I couldn't let go of. I mean, it just sort of had a hold of me. And I said to myself, if I've got an opportunity to be a part of those efforts, you know that thing about if I can help somebody along the way, then my living is not in vain? I mean, this was one of those senatorial moments for me, when I'm introduced to something like that and I've got an opportunity to be a part of it. I mean, there's no greater joy than being able to do something like what we've got an opportunity to do here today. And so yes, Senator, I mean, it's an incredible opportunity for us.
And just, I want to make sure we're clear on what we're talking about, because there were some things said that I think are not exactly accurate as to what this is.
Sure.
So this button is not one button in a school. This is a button that gives law enforcement an opportunity to pinpoint exactly where the emergency is and would work in conjunction to the mapping that we already approved in a previous year's budget.
Absolutely, and it's a way of really utilizing technology that we've already invested in to help our kids. I mean, I think it might have been Senator from Chester that was talking yesterday about him going to a school, a new school, and didn't know where the cafeteria was, and didn't know where the gymnasium was, and didn't know where this was. That's what happens to law enforcement. When they get a call that there's a shooting at a school, okay, where's it at? It's at the cafeteria. Okay, where's the cafeteria at? I mean, but you're right. This technology allows them to tap into the mapping system, and there ain't no question. The technology is going to send them right there. No wrong turns, no anything, straight there. And that's why we're talking 32 seconds as opposed to 4,820 seconds.
And so this whole thing about per school and a button, that's not what this is about.
That
This
is
is
not what
about
this is
something
about.
very specific that would allow response times to be dramatically cut in first responders getting to where they need to be.
Absolutely. All the teachers are going to have one, and they're able to send those signals out.
And then, Senator, just lastly, I know there's been some conversation that there are some schools that already have it.
Yeah.
And then there are schools that do not. Are the schools that do not, you would imagine, are probably more of our financially challenged or underserved, maybe rural communities that don't necessarily have the resources to have this investment without us assisting in this manner.
Clearly, that's the case in a number of instances, although I understand that there's at least one school district that clearly can afford it but hasn't done it yet. But I want to encourage them to do it. And, but I'm happy for, I'm sorry, Mr. President, thank you. I'm happy, and I apologize, members, if I was speaking away from the mic and you couldn't hear me. But I'm happy for all of those school districts that have it already. I'm happy for those parents who can rest a little easier knowing that the technology is in place for them to be able to provide as greater security as they can for those kids. I am happy for those school districts. I'm happy for those parents. I'm happy for that community. But we've got an opportunity here to be happy for all of our communities.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator from Newberry, what purpose do you rise, sir?
Mr. President, unanimous consent request.
State your request.
With the senator from Williamsburg holding the floor, I would like to make a brief introduction.
Is there objection to the unanimous consent request by the senator from Newberry that with the senator from Williamsburg retaining the floor be recognized for introduction? Hearing no objection, so ordered. Thank you, Senator from Williamsburg. Senator from Newberry.
Thank you, Mr. President. And if the senator from McCormick or senators who represent McCormick County happen to be in the chamber, if they would join me up front. If not, Mr. President, today we have in the balcony some honored guests. We want to recognize the South Carolina National Guard for their exceptional service and partnership in the revitalization of the McCormick County Airport. If y'all would stand up. And let me say, this is my honor as chair of the Senate Military Caucus and also not chair, but a member of the Legislative Civil Air Patrol. So we have to have some good airports in the state, Senator from McCormick. And let me say that it's significant that we also celebrate Aviation Week in South Carolina. Through their skilled engineering work as part of an innovative readiness training mission, these dedicated soldiers have helped lay the groundwork for a project that will expand economic opportunity, strengthen regional connectivity, and support future growth. Their efforts not only enhanced a critical piece of infrastructure, but also delivered meaningful cost savings to taxpayers, I'm told in the millions of dollars, and demonstrated the very best of civil-military cooperation. We commend your professionalism, your commitment, and your lasting contribution to the people of South Carolina. And there's so many that have changed. We've had some new ones come in and some that are not here. So I did want to recognize Major General Stilwell, who is there. General Stilwell, we thank you, and we thank you for your troops. And I believe the majority of them are with the 122nd Engineer Battalion. They're the ones that do the work. And back when I was in the Guard, and I hate to tell you how long ago, I doubt that anybody, General, up there was in the 122nd Engineers when we had Major Willard Polk, who used to love to blow things up when we went to Fort Stewart, Georgia. And he was bad about driving around with a trunk load of fertilizer. He used fertilizer to blow things up. In fact, I think when Timothy McVeigh blew up the Oklahoma Federal Building, I think they started looking for Willard Polk maybe as the one who had something to do with it. But anyway, that being said,
based out of?
Saluda is where the majority of them, I think, are, but the battalion headquarters, I'm not sure where the battalion headquarters is now. Edgefield. Okay, Edgefield. All right. Great. And so we do want to thank you guys for being here today, and we thank you for all the work, not just for McCormick County. You've done work all over the state for various regions throughout the state and continue to do a lot of that engineering work. And you're an asset and a benefit to the state of South Carolina. Thank you very much.
Welcome to the Senate. Thank you for your service. We're grateful to you. Welcome. We honor you. Senator from Edgefield.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to say thank you, too. I mean, as someone who has the real pleasure of representing McCormick, the work that y'all have done out there is a big help. So thank you for that, and it's even more of a pleasure for me that it's the 122nd doing the work. So, General, Judge, thank you to everybody.
We're grateful to you. Thank you so much. Thank you for your service. Senator from Florence, what purpose do you rise to?
Mr. President, unanimous consent with the senator from Williamsburg County holding the floor to make a brief introduction.
Is there objection to the unanimous consent request by the senator from Florence with the senator from Williamsburg retaining the floor to make an introduction? Hearing no objection, so ordered. Senator from Florence.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's an honor and a privilege to be here today. It's a great day in South Carolina, and it's even a better day for Florence, South Carolina, and the mighty PD. Every so often, a team catches lightning in a bottle, and that is what the West Florence women's tennis team did. They caught lightning in a bottle. So, Mr. President, if I could just briefly read a little bit of their accomplishments. In 2025, the South Carolina High School League 5A Division II state champions, the first in school history. The lower state Division II champions, first in school history. Finished first ranked out of 229 South Carolina schools. Individual players and honors. We've got the 5A, 4A individual state champion, Ms. Shelby White. And as I read your name, please stand. We've got the all-state selections, Shelby White and Grace Murrell. We've got the North-South All-Star selection, Emma Watford. We've got the South Carolina Athletic Coaches Association Coach of the Year and the North-South All-Star Coach of the Year, Coach Abby Sullivan. And winning team members included, and stand as I read your name, Elle Brannon, Caroline Collins, Lillian Guerrara, Aaron Mills, Kessler Richardson, Lily Richburg, Maya Rivera-Citron, and Maddie Seegers. This team didn't just win championships, they raised the standard for championships. Every player, every coach, and every match contributed to one of the most successful seasons in South Carolina High School League tennis history. And it is an honor and a pleasure for us to recognize them here to the State House. Now, before we give them a round of applause while you're still standing, it's a momentous day for Florence overall. We also have with them the superintendent of schools, Dr. Rich O'Malley. Rich, raise your hand, because he happens to be here not just for this occasion, but as the senator from Horry County read earlier, Florence One Schools has Miss Megan Johnson as a finalist for the Teacher of the Year from Royal Elementary. On the same day, or on the same week, that Carver Elementary School was named one of Palmetto's finest. The fourth year in a row of Florence One Schools has had a Palmetto's finest, recognized as one of the best schools in South Carolina. So for all those who like to say we are known for Buc-ee's and not much else, can we give a round of applause to Florence One Schools and all that they've accomplished, including the women's tennis team from West Florence High School?
Congratulations. Welcome to the State Senate. We're honored to have you here with us today.
Mr. President, if we could please have the heading of the resolution read.
Ask the reading clerk to publish the title.
This is a Senate resolution to congratulate the West Florence High School women's tennis team, coaches, and school officials on an outstanding season and to honor them for winning the 2025 South Carolina High School League Class 5A Division II State Championship.
This resolution is unanimously being adopted by the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank y'all. Congratulations. Now the senator from Berkeley, Senator Fernandez. What purpose do you rise, sir?
Unanimous consent with the senator from Williamsburg maintaining the well while I deliver a introduction.
Is there objection to the unanimous consent request by the senator from Berkeley, Senator Fernandez, with the senator from Williamsburg retaining the floor for the purposes of introduction? Hearing no objection, so ordered. Senator from Berkeley is recognized. Been very patient.
The delegation from Dorchester County wants to join me. This is a wonderful day. We have with us today the Dorchester Academy Lady Raiders, right? If none of you are familiar with Dorchester Academy, this is a school, a Christian school, K through 12, up in St. George. It is a school that is surrounded by farms, by corn. I don't know what else they're growing up there as well. St. George, small little town, but what's that? Listen, and if the delegation from Bluffton wants to leave the room, I'm about to embarrass you. Again, Dorchester Academy Lady Raiders basketball team are with us right up here. They are the girls' 2A state champions. They actually defeated, in overtime, the cross-school Stingrays of Bluffton, 39-37. Did the young lady who made that winning shot here right now? If you're here, you raise your hand. Who made that winning shot? Everyone's looking around. No one wants to take credit. No one wants to take credit. So what I'm going to do, here we are, the winning shot right here in overtime. Good job. Good job. Now, I don't know if your parents are here, but I'm going to embarrass each of you. Right here on, you guys, I don't know what you realize, there's cameras down here streaming this live, not only on TV, but on the internet, so someone's going to clip it, they're going to put it on social media, they're going to TikTok you, and I enjoy embarrassing, I'm a father of 6 girls, so I'm going to enjoy calling these girls out and embarrassing them. Joining us today, we have seniors, Riley Matthews and Lila Owens. Raise your hands if you're here. Here you are. Juniors, Alyssa Grooms, Palmer Kaiser, and Riley Weathers. Raise your hands. Thank you. Sophomores, Emery McClure, Emma Branch, Brinley Pope. Raise your hands. Recognize yourselves. And we have, is this a freshman on the varsity team? Is she that good? Madison Downey? Where are you at? Look at that. How did a freshman get on the varsity team? We also have with us head coach Callie McClure and assistant coach Kara Pendarvis. You guys here right now? Are you standing up, not putting your hands up? There you are. So I just want us to recognize them. We have a resolution for them as well. It's a resolution to have the title read.
The reading clerk will publish the title of the resolution.
This is a Senate resolution to congratulate the Dorchester Academy Lady Raiders basketball team and coaches for winning the 2026 South Carolina Independent School Association Class 2A State Championship title and commend them for an outstanding season.
The resolution has been unanimously adopted by the Senate. The senator from Berkeley.
Thank you, Mr. President. And if you guys are not aware, your names are permanently enshrined on that document. It's framed, and I am pretty sure that your school staff are going to hang it up there, and it will be there long after you guys are gone. If anyone would please join me and congratulate the Lady Raiders.
Welcome to the Senate. Congratulations to you. We're very proud of you. Thank you, Senator from Berkeley. The senator from Williamsburg retains the floor. Senator from Sumter.
Thank you, Mr. President.
What purpose do you rise, sir? You've been standing a while.
See if Senator yield for some questions.
Senator, yield for questions.
Yes.
Senator, yield for questions.
Thank you, Senator. And I do appreciate this conversation. I think it's robust and healthy to have this conversation about how do we fund it, what our priorities are, where are we going. But what I don't want is this conversation to allow us to get lost in the whole purpose of this proviso, and that is provide another very credible, useful, and fruitful.
Senator, state your point. Senator from Spartanburg, Senator Martin, what purpose do you rise, sir?
Mr. President, I make a point of order under Rule 24 that I do not believe this bill is, and this proviso is allowed by law. In section 59-19-90, it sets the general powers and duties of school trustees. One of those is to provide schoolhouses, provide suitable schoolhouses in the district. You can read it. Employ and discharge teachers. Number 3, promulgate rules and regulations, and there's a lot that you can read there. 4, call meetings of electors. And 5, control school property. Take care of, manage, and control the school property of the district. Now, the current proviso, the current statute, the bill on the alarm systems would add a new section to 59-66. 59-66-30 was created for the public middle school and high schools to be equipped with metal detectors. So what we've done here is it shows that we've had to change the state statute to allow these. And by adding in here, I believe it's volatile of our Senate rules. It doesn't mean that I'm not for what they're trying to do, but I just feel like that we've had to create a state statute for these other things. And I feel like this proviso goes around that, Mr. President, and that's what I have to say.
Anyone else wish to speak to the point of order? Senator from Chester.
Mr. President, thank you. In regards to the point of order here, there is a specific line item in the state's budget regarding school safety. This does not alter in any way the statute that was mentioned earlier. In fact, this just directs how a portion of the funds can be used for this protection system. And so it's my contention that this does not alter or amend current law. This specifically speaks to the expenses in the budget. That's also part of our duties here in this house, this chamber.
Anyone else wish to speak to the point of order?
Mr. President, I would just say that I agree with the senator from Chester and don't agree with the senator from Spartanburg.
That point, I hear that point. I'm going to take this under. I'm going to take it under advisement while the senator from Williamsburg continues to respond to questions from the senator from Sumter.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Senator. So I wanted to bring to your attention, Senator, the fund balances of several of the school districts that are encompassed by our Senate districts, and I actually was looking up yours in Williamsburg County. And as you may know, do you know, Senator, that state law requires school districts to maintain 1 month of operational funding for their general fund balances?
Yes,
Are you
sir.
aware of this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So, and from my experience on the school board and the last couple of years and leading into this body, what I found is that what that general fund balance is essentially a growing slush fund across the state. And so why I feel that way, and I'll share with you, is, for example, Sumter School District has a $59 million current surplus right now in their fund balance, with the state required minimum balance for operational funding only being $11 million, with a recent Sumter item report stating that they're going to increase, likely projected in their fund balance, another $7 to $10 million. And so by the end of this calendar year, it looks like Sumter's going to have approximately $70 million sitting in their fund balance. That's something, and that's just one school. I could go down. Calhoun County has $11 million in their fund balance. Orangeburg has $43 million in their fund balance. Williamsburg has $13 million in their fund balance. And though I can't speak on every fund balance in every one, millage rates are different, calculations, expenditures are different, needs are different. So it is somewhat anecdotal, but the fact of the matter is if you go to the public website, the RFA's website, and look at the educational dashboard, you'll see that there's also the current fund balance for the state in whole is in the billions. And so, like you, Senator, I am very concerned about how we pay for this. But I will tell you, and I don't normally talk about this in public because it's hard for me to do so, but my family was affected by an active shooter in a school district in Clovis, New Mexico in 2017. I'm not going to ever say this kid's name. He was a 16-year-old boy, was hell-bent on going into Clovis High School. He changed his mind and he went to the local library instead, where my wife's family's most dear friend, Wanda Walters, was murdered in cold blood by an active shooter in the public library. And also there were several others. There were children that were shot. So, and I'm not trying to color this with my personal experience, because state policy, public policy is never well done when directed by emotion. But I do want to bring to your attention that likely if that kid would have gone into the high school and done what he intended to do, and that is pull off as much carnage as he possibly could before being taken out. Do you believe, sir, that this panic system would have helped that situation?
I'm absolutely convinced that those are the very situations that this proviso is directed towards, because, I mean, the testimony was clear in terms of how it saves time and all of those other things. But Senator, I tell you, more than answering your question, your story resonated with me. And I'll just tell you this, and this is Ronnie Sabb. I never apologize for speaking about those things that I've experienced. I think that we are all products of our experience. And I think from the standpoint of being a good senator, the more experiences you have that you bring to this body, and I think that's why this body is special, because we are the combination of all of our experiences. And that's what puts us in the position that we're in right now to govern and to lead. I remember one of our senior senators some years ago came to the well and told us how many South Carolinians there are. And then he said, and out of those South Carolinians, we're one of 46. I'll never forget that. The responsibility that we have is, if you think about it too deeply, it can become overwhelming. But the opportunities we have, I think, are similarly in terms of its importance. So look, thanks for your story, because it once again makes this so real, and it brings it closer to us. Obviously, our heart bleeds with you in terms of the loss, because you don't ever get over stuff like that, right? It lives with you forever. But man, we got an opportunity here, bro.
Well, thank you for that. And again, an anecdotal instance, it changed the life and the trajectory of my wife's family, and Wanda's family, and that whole community. Yeah. And so, like you, Senator, I believe that, cost is absolutely a matter. I will never, as I stand in this body, I will never compare student safety to roads being fixed. I just think that's, I can't justify that sort of comparison, because one thing I'm not ever going to do is look a parent in the eye after their child was slaughtered in cold blood, and many others, and say, when we had the chance to do something, we looked at the pennies and the dollars and the cents at it. So,
Senator, with that, I'd move
I
adoption.
appreciate you so much for doing this.
Senator from Spartanburg, Senator Martin, what purpose do you rise, sir?
To speak further to the point of order,
Okay, you're recognized to speak
the
further.
current proviso on school safety, it says that the locals have the jurisdiction. In 1.42, for the current fiscal year, districts must utilize funding flexibility provided herein to ensure that district-approved safety precautions are in place at every school. And I think that goes toward the other senator from Spartanburg's arguments, that our districts are already doing that. And our current budget says the districts obviously control these safety measures. And again, in 1.74 on safety, it isn't a mandate, but an allowance. So, Mr. President, I wanted to point that out as well.
Mr. President, I'd just like to follow up on that. We're not directing this at districts. This is directed at the department.
Anyone else want to speak to that point of order? Okay, I'm going to take it further under advisement. Senator from Chester, what purpose do you ask?
Speak to the point of order.
You're recognized on the point of order, sir.
Yes, sir. I would just like to again read the very first line of this proviso that says, from the funds appropriated to the department, each public school district and charter school in the state. Again, this is funds specifically allocated to the department, and we are curtailing how they should be used. When you look at Rule 24, it talks about you cannot temporarily or permanently add, amend, or repeal a portion of the general permanent laws of South Carolina. This is directing spending that's a line item in the current budget.
Senate, is this Senator? I'll allow Senator from Dorchester. What purpose do you rise?
The Senator would yield for a question.
Well, I'll briefly continue to take this under advisement. I'll recognize the Senator from Dorchester. Senator from Winsburg, you yield for questions.
Yes.
Senator.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thank you, Senator, for yielding. I'm not going to take long because I think we need to probably dispose of this issue one way or the other, whether it's a vote or whether it's the decision made by the President.
Senator, before you ask your question, do you know that I fully agree with you and that I would be sitting down right now, but for my colleagues?
For me.
Yeah. Right. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I'll be brief. And I just wanted to follow up on Senator from Sumter because, look, I again, repeat myself and repeat what a lot of people have said. There's no doubt that this is a vital piece. Many districts have indicated it is their top priority. So student safety is certainly a focus for us all, I know. However, that being said, we are here debating the appropriations bill, which deals with dollars and cents and oftentimes many dollars. And we already talked about the fact that this is directed at the department to find the funds, that they can find it in their general funds, they can find it in the safety fund if they so choose. But the Senator from Sumter indicated a number of districts with significant fund balances. Senator, and that further bothers me a little bit. That didn't bother me as much until that was brought forward, but we're talking about districts that have significant fund balances, that have the capability. It goes to the Senator from Anderson's point. Some have made that a priority, some have paid. I know y'all had that discussion back and forth, but again, does that give you any pause that the districts are sitting on dollars? Many of them, maybe not all of them, but certainly a lot of them are sitting on dollars that they could use this for if they haven't already?
So Senator, it's another piece of evidence to be evaluated. So let me just allude to a couple of the numbers. The number that he mentioned in Williamsburg, I'm not sure how many months that actually covers. $11 million seems like a lot of money, but in terms of the school's obligation to have those emergency funds, I'm not sure. And of course, Senator was not exhaustive in some of what he shared. So it's another piece of evidence that I think that we all have to evaluate in terms of whether or not this is a good use of state dollars. I would argue that it is. I would further argue that the other senator from Spartanburg's point, the senator from Charleston's point about unfunded mandates, that's quite frankly, Senator, where my heart took me as the information was being shared. That if, as a state, we were to decide that this is in fact a priority for us, then the question relates to whether or not the unfunded mandates are a problem. Quite frankly, when I think in terms of there being fund balances, that further assures me that if we give instruction that this is important to the General Assembly, that we put this kind of a safety mechanism in place, not for the children who have, But for the ones who have not, then I think that school districts would follow our lead and be glad about the fact that this technology is available and that the General Assembly has taken the lead in making sure that they have access to it. I feel good about that partnership, Senator.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator from Beaufort, what purpose do you raise?
Consent request.
State your request.
With the senator from Williamsburg holding the floor, I wish to make an introduction.
Is there objection to the unanimous consent request by the senator from Beaufort?
Mr. President, let me object briefly and say that unless there are other questions, no, that's all right. We'll do it the other way. All right.
Senator, hearing no objection to the unanimous consent request, the senator from Beaufort is recognized for an introduction, with the senator from Williamsburg retaining the floor. Senator from Beaufort.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm joined today by my colleague, Senator Ott. This is Land Legacy Leaders Day at the South Carolina State House. And in the gallery, we have landowners from across South Carolina. And they have alongside them land trusts they have worked with to place or donate a conservation easement on their land. One of the things that I think is going to be Governor McMaster's legacies is a couple years ago, he made what I would call like a moonshot declaration. He said that he wants to preserve 10 million acres of South Carolina in its natural state, half of our acreage. And a lot like John F. Kennedy made a declaration that they were going to put a man on the moon, people thought that Governor McMaster was crazy. But we have, to this day, conserved 3.5 million acres, and we are on our way to that moonshot declaration with the assistance of the people in the gallery here today. And so I want to go ahead and name the land trust representatives that are here today and ask them to stand as I call out the organization. The Open Land Trust, Ducks Unlimited, the Nature Conservancy, the South Carolina Farm Bureau Land Trust, Upstate Forever, Conservancy of the Sea Islands, Aiken Land Conservancy, Spartanburg Area Conservancy, Low Country Land Trust, Congaree Land Trust, Open Space Institute, and the Edisto Island Open Land Trust. We also have with us today state agency partners and board members from the South Carolina Conservation Bank who work with these land trusts to leverage local, federal, and private dollars in support of protecting working farms and forests. Members of the Senate, I'm extremely proud of what South Carolina has done to preserve a lot of what makes our state unique. It could not be done without these landowners, without these land trusts, without these resource agencies, and without the people of South Carolina. So please join me in giving all of those individuals, excuse me. I forgot one. Who did I forget? Oh, I'm sorry, the PD Land Trust.
There we go.
There you stand. Okay, the great PD. And we just had one of the largest conservation just a few weeks ago announced in the PD, as I recall. So I apologize for that. It wasn't in my notes that you were here. So at this point in time, before we welcome you to the Senate, I'm going to see whether or not my colleague wants to say anything to welcome you as well.
Senator from Calhoun is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Senator Davis. Certainly just want to acknowledge and also echo everything that he just said. I was standing there thinking, really it's so much selflessness that is standing in the balcony today, and folks all across the state of South Carolina. I mean, every single person that ultimately signs up their land and their properties are doing it with the understanding that they are probably giving up future revenue for either themselves or for their families to make sure that the state of South Carolina ultimately stays what the state of South Carolina is ultimately about. And to me, that is just a beautiful acknowledgement of who we are as South Carolinians. So certainly thank you, each and every one of you, for doing that. So very proud of the growth and the acceleration that our state experiences each and every day. But this is truly what it means to preserve the essence of what South Carolina is, and that is what y'all represent. So thank you.
Senator from Williamsburg is recognized on introduction.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to lend my voice to this discussion. I don't know, perhaps many of you followed the notion that Williamsburg County has this incredible jewel called the Black River. And so the Black River is now a state park. And I just want to highlight that because, you folks made all of that possible. And I can't tell you how excited the people are in Williamsburg County to see the area that they grew up in become what it is becoming. And so a couple of weeks ago, our governor, McMaster, joined us in Salters, South Carolina, where we opened up what we consider to be phase one, which is Black River at the Meadows. And of course, the Open Space Institute had folks there from New York City that came down, and what a wonderful celebration. And so I'm so appreciative to these senators for making sure that you all were recognized in the manner in which you are. And I just came to lend my voice and to say thank you for all of what you all do.
Senator from Charleston, Senator Campson's recognized.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I was out in the lobby talking to someone about closing an easement, a conservation easement. That's actually what I was doing. Exactly what y'all want me to be doing, right? And we want all of us. And thank you all for being here. Thank you for what you do. I think that South Carolina is the state, the greatest state in the union when it comes to, number one, doing conservation, because we do it by negotiation and compensation, not by regulation. And by doing that, we've been able to protect a lot of land with working with willing landowners who are willing to do those easements. I know y'all play a big part in that. I see Tim Cummins up there, and he's got an easement on property down in the Ace Basin, and I know that, see him regularly. But thank y'all for what you do. Keep it up. I can say this, when I first authored the South Carolina Conservation Bank, it was nick and tuck whether I could get it passed. I had to hold off on getting it passed the first year because it was going to get killed. And now, as you can see, pretty much everyone and all the lawmakers pretty much are very supportive of conservation easements because we're not having to spend a lot of state money. We get a great bang for the buck if you get an easement through the conservation bank that leverages other funds. And everyone in South Carolina is feeling the growth. And growth is good, but if growth is too big, too fast, and happens too rapidly, what do we call that? We call that cancer, don't we? And so we're trying to protect the beautiful spaces in South Carolina and places that make us want to live here and work here in the first place. But thank you all for what you do.
Thank you. Senator from Florence.
The senator from Beaufort did a great job of recognizing the PD Land Trust, but I also wanted to take a moment as a former board of director for the PD Land Trust. You realize firsthand how important the administrative and the office side is. So it would be remiss if I didn't mention that Ferris Lupo, the office manager, a long time from the PD Land Trust, just lost her 44-year-old husband to cancer a few days ago. And I want to thank you all for being here. If Ferris is watching, and when she does get a chance to see this, know that we love you, we care about you, we care about your two young boys, and I know, you all know what you mean to the PD Land Trust and to the conservation efforts, and it is not lost on us what you're going through, Ferris. So I wanted to say thank you all from the PD Land Trust for being here.
I want to say one. I'd like to say one more thing. Raleigh, I see you up there, Raleigh West, who's the director of the Conservation Bank. Raleigh, you are so talented, you could have done a lot of other things in your life. And everyone up here knows that because you've dealt with him. And you have been, I can't imagine a better director for the Conservation Bank than you. You're very well educated, you have a great passion, has an MBA and a law degree. He could have done a lot of other things and worked for the Conservation Bank. And he's going to work in another conservation area, and we're going to miss you greatly. It'll be extremely difficult to replace you, but I'd love everyone to give a great round of applause for Raleigh West. He has been magnificent.
Senator from Beaufort's right.
Members of the Senate, please join me in welcoming these fine individuals to the Senate.
Welcome to all of you. Thank you for your service to our state and protecting our land. Thank you, all the members. Thank you. No.
Mr. President, I want to see if the senator from Charleston would yield and if they would hold 1 second.
Senator from Spartanburg, Senator Martin, what purpose do you raise it?
Senator from Charleston, are you aware that the folks in this balcony are willing to come to our local offices and meet with us personally to try to explain things so we can make it better for South Carolina? I wanted to make sure that you were aware of that and that they were aware of that because I can't talk directly to them. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Senator
We'd love to
Sowen-
hear from you, and we know that y'all are doing good work out there in the land trust world.
Senator so informed. Senator from Edgefield, what purpose do you raise?
Mr. President, quick announcement.
Recognized for an announcement.
Mr. President, I'm announcing this on behalf of the senator from Cherokee so that he gets blamed for it and not me. He wanted me to announce it so that I would take the blame for it, but
Yes,
I'm gonna
sir.
put it off on him. It's the senator's intention that we not break for lunch, and so we're all on our own to order food or to eat. So just wanted to make that announcement.
And supper too, if necessary.
And maybe breakfast.
Senator so informed. Senator from Williamsburg retains the floor, but before I recognize him, the senator from Calhoun, what purpose do you rise?
To just go ahead and introduce the doctor of the day while we're in this moment of break.
Is there objection? Unanimous consent request from the senator from Calhoun to introduce the doctor of the day with the senator from Williamsburg retaining the floor. Hearing no objection, so ordered.
Gentlemen, I love the opportunity to always be able to stand before you. One of the great things about Senate District 26 is that we have so many different wonderful hospitals, and it's my honor today to represent or to introduce to each and every one of you Dr. Thomas Wallace, who is serving as our doctor of the day. Dr. Wallace is a graduate of the Philadelphia College of, I had to ask for a little bit of help on this one. Calhoun County dialect is not always great with some words. Osteopatric, I think. Potrick. Okay, we're good. We're close. He is completing his residency at Lexington Medical Center and will be joining Lexington Family Practice out in White Knoll in August. So certainly appreciate you being here. Thank you for taking care of us. Thank you for taking care of our constituents. Glad to have you. Welcome to the Senate.
Welcome to the Senate. Thank you for your service as our doctor of the day. Great to see you. I'm prepared to rule on the point of order. That point of order is overrule that point of order. Senator from Williamsburg retains the floor. Senator from Colleton, what purpose do you raise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
How many amendments are on the desk?
I'm informed we have 37 amendments.
Oh, Lord.
Yes. Yeah. So,
Mr. President.
Senator from Cherokee. Is there objection? There is no.
Mr. President, I could think of no better moment to take my seat, but before I do, let me follow up real quick on the question that the Senator from Dorchester asked me about when he started talking, y'all, about fund balances and those kinds of things. And he asked me the question as to whether or not I had any pause based on the fact that one of the senators was kind enough to share information with us about some of the fund balances of our districts. And I stand by my answer that I gave Senator from Dorchester, although he's on his way out. But I did want to say that this General Assembly decided that it was necessary for us, not the school districts with their fund balances, but that it was necessary for us to do an appropriation. Y'all hear me on this, and I promise I'm going to sit down. Just hear me on this, please. We decided that we needed to make sure that the school districts had what they need. And so what did we do? we appropriated $20 million for school safety. Y'all, we did that. And so although, like I mentioned to the senator, that's evidence that they've got the wherewithal to do some things, we took that step. And so we created it. So I just wanted to add that. And with that, Mr. President, I move for passage.
Pending question is adoption of the amendment. Senator from Spartanburg, Senator Bright, what purpose you ask?
Wish to be heard briefly.
You're recognized to be heard briefly on the amendment. Senator from Spartanburg, Senator Bright.
Mr. President, members of the Senate, I hadn't said this, but I was thinking about it a little bit. When I was in 9th grade, we had a guy come into the school with a gun, held a classroom hostage. Fortunately, I was not in that classroom, but, you know, we, as